to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
Stop worrying about what other people think. Have you met other people? Most of them suck.
And Dale Hummel.
You loot, we shoot.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
China.
No, China. 4 million listens. That's what I want to talk about.
You believe that to be more important than China?
Positive, uplifting, rainbows, butterflies, unicorns. Thank you, listeners. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you. That does mean if there was 4 million downloads, how many people heard about China then?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Go with your China nonsense.
Okay, I want to start with China, and there's a lot of good current events, but we have to discuss this. In the big picture, China is doing everything possible to be the next world power, period. They don't even hide it. They have a 30-year plan, a 50-year plan. It's very obvious they're not hiding any of this. If Xi can continue to make progress, he's going to, and he's going to do everything possible, ethical or unethical, or at the cost of his own populace, their well-being, their lives, anything to continue to gain more power. This is evident. I hope everybody already understands that if you've ever listened to this podcast, and there's 4 million downloads, so somebody's listening. They are currently infiltrating our country, and they've had over 100 situations near military bases or military sites where they have apprehended Chinese nationals posing to be tourists. Ryan, this is a very odd number that there's not that many Chinese tourists wandering around or onto military sites or bases. Can you agree there's a purpose?
Have you ever seen an Asian tourist?
Yes.
In person?
Yes.
Observe.
All the time. Well, I don't know if they're from China, but
they are the most
Asia.
Curious people in the history of the world. Like, they take pictures of everything, they video everything, they record everything, all this stuff. I think they just want to see what it's like to be on a military base.
That is a valid point.
Maybe they want to enlist.
No, I'm telling you, I agree. They are curious.
They are very curious.
But I'm not going to connect those two dots because I do not believe that is it. There is a purpose behind it. And I do not know what it is. I have no idea. They were caught walking across a military site. I don't remember, somewhere in the West, scuba diving on a military site where a rocket launch facility is in Florida. I mean, just things that aren't going to happen by normal tourists. That just doesn't happen. So I can assure you this means something. It's unprecedented, and it's in preparation for a conflict. And by the way, conflict is the kind way of saying that we are going to be at war with China in some manner. We are currently in a Cold War. The White House simply doesn't acknowledge or understand it, but there is no question. I pose the question to you, Ryan. Do you believe we're in a Cold War?
It.
Are we in a Cold War with China in your mind?
Yes.
Okay. Have you heard the news, the media, the White House, anybody talk about this?
No.
Why?
Okay. Clearly, you're not watching any of the news. First off, the man in charge, he doesn't know where he is. Secondly, he's getting kickbacks from every foreign country in the world.
Including China.
Yes, including China. And so, therefore, he don't want nobody to know.
And if he were to expose China, they bring out documentation that gets him impeached immediately.
Exactly, but they don't want to do that because then they lose their power.
Yes, so I believe he could push the envelope, and they would not, because it's going to get worse. Well, I shouldn't. Camel Toe's not going to be worse. I have no idea what she would do as a president, but obviously if he's impeached, that is our president. So I really don't know there, but you're right. China either owns him or has the ability to manipulate him.
Owns him.
You're probably right. I mean, just all the farm ground they've bought up near military bases or away from military bases, the ownership of companies that impact our food supply, the fact that they have now helped in some minimal manner to bring most of the countries in the continent of Africa into their brotherhood, that they can mine all the rare minerals needed. That also corresponds with their production of electric car batteries, as our sitting president continues to take our tax dollars and funnel those to the car companies to make electric cars, stop making gas burning or diesel burning vehicles. All of a sudden, if it would ever happen, which I don't believe the US public is even ready for it, there's no logic on any level. But if it were to happen, that puts us that much more dependent upon China. And there's no way I can justify this in my mind on any level.
I don't think it's yours to justify, sir. I'm just saying.
What about the southern border? If China's sending tourists onto military bases, how many people do you think they're sending across the southern border that should not be here?
Lots.
Yeah, and the fact that they're supplying the Mexican drug cartel with the ingredients for fentanyl and pushing that in, they're making an effort on every single level they possibly can to bring down the United States. We're the only thing that is truly in their way of total world domination, and we appear to be asleep at the wheel.
I think you make some very valid points. I think you're also a little paranoid, but I do think that I don't know if we're the only thing that prevents them from being world domination, but we are definitely the biggest obstacle in that, because again, for them to truly dominate the world, they would have to have the assistance of some other people, and Putin's just as crazy as Xi Jinping, so I don't think that partnership will work out long term. But there are some weird things going on. Do I think that they should have all this land that they bought? No, but how do you get it back from them?
It's very simple. You just take it.
You just they paid for it, Dale.
Yeah,
it's not like
give them their money back. I don't know. Okay,
I don't think they want to sell it back, sir.
Well, I don't think you give them a choice at this point. We're not allowed to buy ground near any military
domain.
We're not allowed to buy any ground near any military facility in China. If we just put us back on an even playing field, that works. Okay, I consider you a very crazy person, but highly intelligent. Highly intelligent. Okay. We have a situation with China. They cannot produce enough food to feed their people. They do not have enough energy resources to power their country.
Correct.
And those two things are pretty critical. They've made all of this progress without either one of those. We alone can almost crush them using those two things. We step up energy production. We pull back, and it's not going to be friendly to our ag community for a short period. We pull back some of our exports of grain. That country starves. I say starve them out, burn them out by bumping up our energy and dropping down whatever we can do in terms of manipulating that oil prices and embargo on whatever we can do. If we don't try to do something drastic right now, I worry that the further we go every single day, we go down a road that's going to be more and more difficult.
Okay, I agree that we can do those things. I think it's very simple. I think that we should go back to being energy independent. And again, we get large checks around this household for oil prices. And I still say that we should go back to being energy independent like we were under Trump. But your whole plan of starving out China, while you can do it, you're missing one fundamental fact. They don't care if the people starve.
No, you're right. Well, they do care if our dollars will keep flowing in there, buying all their products. Let's step up manufacturing.
That, yes. But I'm telling you, if you really think the Communist Party of China cares if any of their citizens starve, you are vastly mistaken.
No, you're correct. And that has allowed them, by not caring, has allowed them to make more progress.
Because they do not give a crap about the general welfare of the people of their country. And so that part, when do I think that we should step up manufacturing? Do I think we can do a lot of things that cripple them in a number of ways? Yes, we can. And I'm not trying to sing Trump's praises, but we were on that path with him.
I believe they were beat down, so economically beat down.
They
because
released
of Trump's
COVID to
policy.
get him beat.
Yes. And not to necessarily get, part of it was to get him beat, but guess what it did? They were in a shit show economically at that point. If they release COVID, all of a sudden, all of the world's in a shit show with them. So it brings them back to an even playing field. There's so many reasons for them to have intentionally released. It's unbelievable.
I'm just telling you, I think it really has. I mean, I agree with you on that a little bit, but I think it has the most to do with getting Trump out of office because, again, there was no way he was not going to win pre-COVID. No.
Exactly. And it either in either direction or all of the above, it benefits their purpose, their cause.
Now they are where they were once at a very low moment. They are riding high now.
Right where they were prior to Trump.
That's a whole lot of China talk. Jesus.
You take us into something much better, please.
I don't know about things much better. I am very, very concerned. And people, like, I've gotten some comments on this. People think that I may be a little bit of an alarmist or whatever. I have expressed my concern that if they put Trump in jail, I think it's the beginning of civil war. But I think it could be worse than that because now, in the last week or so, there's all this talk about Trump not being eligible to run for president because of the 14th Amendment. I think it's Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And there are people on every single network, and I know we should not believe anything that any of these people say because they're all liars and they all have their own agenda, whatever. They seem to think that the Supreme Court will decide if Trump is eligible to run for president before the primaries start next year. Do you know what happens if the Supreme Court says he can't? Do you know, Dave?
I cannot even wrap my head around how this is going to the Supreme Court, or anything about it. I really can't. The only thing I can hope, and I don't believe this to be accurate, is if there was some other group, some militant group, or they're making it out to be a militant group that they're trying to charge with some of the same mafia-like actions that they're throwing at Trump, that this is a landslide for any politician anywhere in the country for a representative from the local level, the county level, a district attorney, anywhere to bring charges upon somebody to stop them from being elected or getting them out of a political office. And when we open that can of worms, which has already been opened, it needs to be closed. I can only hope that the Supreme Court is doing this to seal this can of worms back up. That's all I can come up with.
I'm with you. But I obviously these people know what they're talking about. And again, this is not just one crazy person. This is multiple people saying that they do believe this will go before the Supreme Court, before the primaries, whatever. And I haven't even heard the people on CNN or MSNBC that aren't like crazy nuts liberal think that this will work, but they think that this is a real thing, that it will actually be heard and there will be a decision rendered. What if they say he can't run? Do you know what happens then? Do you know, sir?
Is this where your alarmist part comes out?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of with you, and I am going to self-acknowledge.
I promise you it is on.
I am an alarmist. Probably worse than
78 million people in this country voted for that man the last time.
I have ordered more guns and more ammunition just in case. If my actions speak for my beliefs,
I think this is a very, 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 very slippery slope that they're messing with here.
And what happens? What happens if this starts this process actually happens?
I don't think anything happens unless the Supreme Court says he can't run, and then
or whatever prosecutor in the country, and there could be more that come up yet, prevents him from running.
That's why they're saying it will be fast track to the Supreme Court. The first person that tries to do that, that's why they say it'll be fast track to the Supreme Court before the primaries, and a decision will have to be made. And
that seems logical to me. I like that thought.
And again, we're in September, so whatever. But I just think that is very
anything to get it out of, what is it, Fulton County, Georgia, wherever that is. Anything to get the trial out of there is a good thing.
but,
That's a very bad place. Very, very
and
bad
then,
place.
which we don't know, but today is the deadline for Hunter Biden's legal team and the Department of Justice to update the judge on where they are at. So that'll be great.
Isn't it amazing? All of the crap that has come up on Biden and Hunter, all the information's come out.
Oh, there's more today. 6 more subpoenas went out today because now there's some other FBI person that says that he testified or has given a statement. I don't know. There's so much whatever. But 6 more subpoenas were issued today because now they have proof or they have testimony from an FBI agent that the then Vice President Biden's staff colluded with Hunter on all these deals.
It's amazing. Yet give it a few days and the media it'll disappear. Example, and this is the mildest of the examples, the cocaine in the White House. If this was any other presidency and there wasn't so much bullshit going on, would we not have held on to that story and forced their hand to disclose officially where that came from?
Oh, I think that'll come back up when they're ready to get rid of him and they've decided that it'll be something else and it'll be, who knows.
I think that just gets rid of him in the public opinion. It doesn't do anything from a legal standpoint on Joe himself. But public perception is not good.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, but well, just like I told you that last night, the latest. And again, I don't believe all things poll. I think that at the best, it is a basis. I am not a diehard on whatever, but when 78% of Democrats polled say he's too old to run for re-election, now even if that's 50, Dale, that is a huge problem for the Democratic Party.
I agree.
The 58% of Democrats do not approve of his job as president.
No, they can't. They cannot allow him to run. They can't. I don't know how. I don't know that we've been in this position before. I'm sure we have. I'm just unaware.
Did Jimmy Carter get to run again?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Farmer. I don't know. I don't know if
I think he did. Got beat.
Obviously, he's only a one-term president. I know that. I don't even know. I may not have even been alive when Jimmy Carter was president, to be honest. But I didn't know if he ran again.
Yeah. So I don't know how you prevent a sitting president from running again outside of being impeached. Not only impeached, but convicted of the crime.
It's gonna be something.
So I have one other thing, and we're way long here. I have one other thing I want to bring up. I continue, whether it's on social media, the news, the rampant problems we have in our large cities primarily, and we can even focus on California. It doesn't matter where we focus. Where you see these videos, Ryan, of a security guard or a store employee holding on to a purse that somebody's trying to walk out the store with, or just insane situations where you have criminals coming in, and these are mostly looting, and there's zero fear whatsoever. Zero. So I'm going to go back to my tagline, and I'm going to give credit to Mr. DeSantis, my buddy, my boy. Loot, we shoot. Ryan, if we were to put it out there that these security guards, store owners, if they fear loss of property or they're to protect themselves or their family, and somebody is violating the law by stealing crap or beating on an employee or whatever it may be, if those criminals knew that the store owners were allowed to shoot them on the spot without serious consequences, and they still chose to do it, they would be putting their life at risk. Those cowards would not. So I'm going to go back to, I like Mr. DeSantis' policy when the hurricane came through that, hey, be careful, looters. We have homeowners with guns. So as everybody else is trying to take guns out of the owner's hands, I think we need to put more guns into more responsible gun owners' hands and allow them to use them. Are you okay with this?
again, I'm not going to argue with you on the we loot, we shoot, whatever, responsible gun owners, all this other stuff. But since you brought up your boy Ronnie D,
Be nice.
I
Be
don't,
nice.
I don't have to be nice. I'm not a nice person.
You have one thing against him because you agree with all of his policy except for one.
I do not agree with all of his policy.
You do.
No.
You agree. It's similar to Trump, maybe even a little more conservative. What is wrong with that?
Again, he is as right as Bernie is left, and that is not good.
No, it is outside of him throwing gay in jail.
Oh my God.
Other than that, I'm in.
I want to tell you how I know Fox News is going to hell in a handbasket. Would you just listen for 1 second? Because you believe this too, because you only listen to the basement garage news anymore. So there's a show called Outnumbered where it's like 4 women and 1 guy every day. And it's normally a really good show. Normally because Kaylee McEnany, Harris Faulkner are on it every day. Well, this one blonde woman that I have never seen before that you would think is hot is on there. And
the one with the really dark roots?
No. They're talking about the presidential candidates, and she brings up the fact that the biggest thing wrong with Ron DeSantis is that people do not think he is likable. So his likability factor. And she said, and I quote, likability is irrelevant. And then she went on to proceed that him not being likable as a public figure, that was just harsh and all this other stuff. Likability has been a factor in every election since they became elections. I could not believe this dumb bitch said this on national TV. I was like, really?
I clearly did not hear that, but I'm going to go a step further. Not only has likability been involved in every presidential election from the beginning, it's involved in every day of life and every decision that people make.
Everything.
We did a whole episode on how showmen can be likable and come across that way to the judge.
I could not believe this woman said that likability was in anything, but most an election. I was like,
okay. In her defense, in some situations, and I'm going to use your president, our ex-president Trump, former President Trump, he may not be overly likable, and I'm
not.
Fine. But his policy is so good, I am willing to not even the likability doesn't even come into play for me on whether or not he should be president. So under that pretense, I can see, I understand her statement. She needed to be a little more specific.
Here's the problem, though. So because you've had him, Trump, who is not likable, that makes it a problem, even more of a problem for DeSantis, because if you're going to vote for somebody that you like their policies, but is not likable, you're voting for Trump before DeSantis. And
yes, I think that's exactly what's happening.
That makes it even more of a problem for him. And number 2, I am not going to say that Trump is likable. The other big difference between Trump and DeSantis is whether you find his humor cruel. Trump is funny. He is funny. And he is charismatic. All things that DeSantis are not.
I would agree with that. And I think Trump, I like Trump on 90% of Trump. Maybe 95. But there are those eyes and biggest and most and all of those things that wear on me.
Anyhow, so are we ready for something else now? Because that was
how about some BTRJLA news?
Okay,
with the rainbows, butterflies, and one.
So last week we did the all around. So this week we're going to highlight the exhibitors that are currently in the top 10 national standings in the overall cattle division, and we have a brother-sister duo in first. Sarah Danley from Seminole, Texas is first, and Todd Danley from Seminole, Texas is second. Taylor Poff from Ohio is third. Dallas Ritchie of Indiana is fourth. J.W. Powers from Idaho is fifth. Gus Hooper from Idaho is sixth. Caleb Hall from Idaho is seventh. Oh, Garrett. I'm sorry, Garrett. Garrett Reusch, Reusch of Ohio is eighth. Kaylee Lyman of Idaho is ninth, and Faith Campa of Arizona is 10th. So congratulations to our current top 10, and I would like to thank BK Magnawave for being a Region 1 sponsor. They were the last one we needed to make sure that Region 1 was fully sponsored for 2023, and the crew at BK Magnawave are your premier certified PEMF practitioners along the West Coast and throughout the Midwest. Gary Kincaid and Nate Brookshire bring years of livestock knowledge and experience to the table to best fulfill the needs of their customers. They have been blessed to feed, breed, show, and even judge at a very high level, which we believe is imperative in our understanding of getting your stock to feel their best. Our motto is livestock care by livestock people. They have been very fortunate to have client success at the local, state, and national level, and they are very proud to support the Beyond the Range Junior Livestock Association. Follow BK Magnawave on Instagram and Facebook, and you can reach Gary Kincaid at 530-312-9336, or you can reach Nate Brookshire at 530-908-0648. So thank you to BK Magnawave, Gary, and Nate for being a Region 1 species sponsor. That means that Region 1, 2, 3, and 4 are fully sponsored because the Showman app stepped up and finished out Region 4, and we'll read their information next week. So Region 5 doesn't need to step up.
That's rainbows and butterflies. That's pretty good.
There you go.
I appreciate BK Magnawave. Thank you for jumping in there. I'm going to keep this real simple, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast has had 4 million downloads, so clearly people are listening. I encourage you as a listener, yes, I'm speaking to those of you that are listening right now. If you have not tried ShowFresh H2O, do so. They are responsible for allowing this podcast to happen from a financial aspect each and every week. They're supporting the junior livestock industry by doing such. Please show your support back to them. And I believe in the product. It is very simple. It is simple chemistry. We add ShowFresh H2O to city water. It takes out the chlorine. ShowFresh H2O can be purchased at your local farm store, local supply trailer, or at swampfox.com. Thank you again.
Go. You do love all things ShowFresh.
I love all things water. I think, remember at one point I was named Water Boy.
Yes, you are the water boy.
I am Mr. Hydration when it comes to show livestock, period. I don't have a title, Ryan. The only thing I do. I don't. Before we start, I want to acknowledge that this is crazy to allow myself to be interviewed by you, and my wife should be the one sitting down here to do this interview about the exotic feline operation, but she is smarter than I and would not open herself up to those kind of questioning. Outside the box business, exotic felines, call it whatever you want.
Pussycats, billy goats, and vampire Angus.
As we discussed, I don't think we can do them all in one session.
I know. So we'll see where we get. But that's the title: Pussycats, Billy Goats, and Vampire Angus.
Great title. So
yeah,
I would like to focus. Let's separate. I don't know how long this is going to run, but I think it works well. Let's start with the exotic cats because that is what has allowed everything else.
I am the interview person. You were the interviewee.
Go ahead. Go. Please continue.
I get to decide.
You take lead, take direction.
Yeah. So my first question is to you: I would like you to rank your 4 children in order your favorite to your least favorite.
Aren't you?
I'm joking.
Aren't you the most funny?
I'm joking. No, that's not it. So people understand because I don't know how many. I know a lot of listeners know about your pussycat business. Not all of them do because I have had. Since the beginning of this podcast, I have had a ton of people get Dale to talk about his cats.
Well, obviously they already know about it if they're asking you.
But anyhow, so Dale is the co-founder of a breed of cat, and it's called a Savannah cat. And I'm going to get Dale to explain how he came up with this and all this other stuff. But Just so you know, this is he founded the breed in 1991, I think, is if I did my research right, and it's been this thriving business, and it's very, very interesting and unique. But I think the basis of why this has been so successful, and I think Dale would agree with this because we talked about this, is that a lot of it has to do with your general livestock background, is what made this venture very successful. Would you agree with that?
This is how we're tying this to the junior livestock world, and that is a part of it. So, I can elaborate if you would like.
I would like for you to tell me because it was you and a buddy of yours, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So were y'all drunk when you came up with this idea at a bar?
Okay. To start off with, as a child, Ryan, I never woke up one day and
I
said,
was
hey,
born a poor white child.
As a child, I never woke up one day and said, I want to raise exotic cats. That was never on the radar. Actually, all the way through my graduate, or up until graduate school, when I met a good friend that actually doesn't live that far from where I'm at right now, Dr. Favero. He was doing his postdoctorate in reproductive physiology.
He's a doctor.
Incredibly intelligent person. Visiting with him one day, and I have no idea what we'd have been talking about. And at that moment, I do remember it was in his office in the middle of the day. So I'm going to clearly say we were not intoxicated by any level at all.
Damn it. It would be such a better story.
So in his office, and this is going to age me something terrible. The other thing that I remember that day, and this is terrible, he was on his computer booking an airline ticket. Doesn't seem like any big deal, does it, Ryan?
No.
Ryan, this was before I even was aware that you didn't have to call a travel agent to book an airline ticket, before social media, before any of those things. Email had just become fairly secure. This wasn't like you normally got on there. He subscribed to AOL, or I don't know what it was. And one of their features was you could book your own airline tickets. And that was a huge deal at that time. And I'm sure most of our listeners cannot relate to that, nor probably can you.
No, I don't. I didn't. No. But
anyway, so he approaches me with this idea, and he is one that is constantly thinking. And fortunately for me, I tend to take a more non-traditional approach to some things, or I think outside the box on occasion. He says, I think we can breed a serval cat that is native to Africa, a wild cat, to a domestic cat. And he's telling me this out of just a general interest, not for me to go do it necessarily, but rather he's done the research and he thinks it can be done. So from the science perspective, he's wanting to accomplish this goal to write a journal article or whatever it may be. I think more out of his own curiosity. I wasn't overly concerned with proving that it can be done, but rather if it could be done, the marketability of a cat that would have a domestic level of management that's larger than a regular cat, that has a wild look to it, is going to be insanely popular. And if you think about a lot of people, maybe not you, Ryan, but a lot of people are very attracted to tiger cubs or lion cubs or these baby cats or small cats or wild cats in general. They may be great as a baby, but they're going to grow up and they're going to eat you at some point. They just are. But if we can make one that has some of those attributes that you could also put in your home with a bowl of dry cat food, a litter box, and some water, and that's all it took, and they're not going to grow up and eat you, that's something that the world hadn't seen yet from a pet marketability standpoint. That is how it began.
And you weren't drunk?
I was not drunk. 4 years later.
I like my story so much better.
4 years it took before we had a live kitten born. We had many unsuccessful attempts, and I can expand a little bit on what is going on there.
Okay, so I do have one, and I'm being serious. I'm not being funny. I do have one real question. So you said it took 4 years for the first kitten to be born. Was it because the cats didn't want to mate, or was the actual birthing process that was the problem?
All of the above. And I think you'll understand this. You'll comprehend this very, very well. So we had to go out, and I didn't know where I was going to buy a serval cat. I mean, I knew they're in Africa, so I looked at importing servals from Africa.
Did you go trap one?
I did not go trap one. You can buy them from Africa, and you can legally import them with a lot of paperwork, and you can buy them
You
fairly
realize that you
cheap.
need me to change your story because it would be so much better if you just let
Well,
me rewrite the
let's
story.
go with it. I went to Africa, I trapped a serval, and I brought it
Yeah.
back. Is
Yes,
that better?
I like that so much better.
Or I called somebody like who? You
Joe
know
Exotic.
this. No, keep going.
Who?
Try one more time. Why is he in jail?
I don't know. Which
He
person?
put a murder attempt out on
Oh, the other guy. The other guy.
the lady, your
Oh,
girlfriend,
oh,
Carol
um,
Baskin.
Carol. You called Carol?
I called Carol. At that time,
She
she
just has tigers.
no, she had servals.
Oh,
I don't know I don't know how I got her. I have no idea how I came across calling her, but under that at that point, Carol Baskin was Wildlife on Easy Street, and
yes.
she was selling exotic cats for a profit, just like what she criticized our buddy Joe for. And I did purchase a serval cat from her,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how it all got started. The issues that we have and why it took 4 years. When you have a serval cat, an adult serval cat, this was a kitten, but if you were to take an adult serval cat and put domestic cats in with them, they're just as likely to consume them as they are to mate with them. That's probably a terrible idea. Raise the kitten with domestic cats, and hopefully they will become or think they are one of the domestic cats. And hopefully Mother Nature will allow them to recognize the pheromones and the fact that those cats are in heat. And hopefully, because of the size difference, physically they're able to mate. And hopefully they will carry full term, the females, once conception takes place, because Mother Nature is going to say to that domestic female in the embryonic stage or fetal stage, wherever it is in there, that this is not self. And if it's not self, they're going to reabsorb or abort those kittens as Mother Nature's way of not allowing hybridization. There's a reason for individual species that have evolved over a long period of time to be very specialized. Mother Nature says, let's not screw this up. So, with all those hurdles in place,
But
I
that's
tell
boring.
people, okay, I tell people that maybe 1 out of 10 servals will actually mate with a domestic cat. That's not very good. Then, of those domestic cats that they mate with, maybe 1 out of 10 will actually carry full term. When I say full term, we have a 10-day gestation gap between a serval and a domestic cat, 63 days to approximately 73 days. Now, 10 days doesn't sound like a lot, but in that short of a gestation period, it's huge. The last thing to develop in any mammal are their lungs. So we would have these babies born that look like little hairless mice or rabbits that just were basically would never take that first breath, or if they did, it was very short lived and very frustrating, thinking we're never going to get this to happen. And unfortunately, and I hate to even admit to it, there were a lot of babies born that died very quickly or were born dead in this process. Mostly died very quickly. I began the process of elimination. What can we do to change this? Can I prolong the gestation length of that female? Can I do this or that? What I came up with is we developed a little intensive care unit, an incubator that we can pump oxygen into, that we control the temperature. We can hydrate them immediately with subcutaneous fluids. We basically can implement everything that I could come up with to help those babies survive. And I can tell you now that when we have them born, we have a 98% success rate. So it's all going much better now. But Mother Nature did put a lot of hurdles in place to prevent things like this from happening.
Very, 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 very interesting. So, when you got the first F1, was it a male or a female?
It would have the first live one that we were able to keep alive was a male.
Oh, but
Through
that's what you wanted.
But through our research of other hybrid animals, our thoughts were the males would be sterile, the females would be fertile, but not overly fertile, capable of reproducing, but not well, where the males really had zero chance. In our opinion, Dr. Favero and my opinion and other geneticists that we've talked to, and I contacted a lot of geneticists across the country before I tried to breed the serval to a domestic, and each and every one of them told me that Mother Nature will not let this happen. You have too many hurdles in the way. So fortunately, they were incorrect, but they were correct in the fact that if you did get one, the male would not be fertile. So
Oh,
under that assumption, we went ahead and sold that first male, I believe, to a person in Indianapolis. And at that time, Ryan, guess what our mode of marketing was? This would have been 1993, 4, somewhere in there.
what was the mode of marketing?
I believe I put an ad in a newspaper.
Oh, wow. Okay,
You're not even
so
aware that ads ever went in newspapers, are you?
no, I don't read the news. I don't read porn either.
There was
so,
no
I mean, you know.
website. There was nothing social media wise. It just didn't exist.
So, but are all males sterile, or was that
Yes.
assumption wrong?
No, yes and no. There is a chance, and it is with all hybrid animals, there is a chance at the very onset of puberty, there may be a very low percentage of live sperm cells. I wish I could go into more detail, and I hope I'm not giving too much detail and false, but there is a very small window. To my knowledge, none of the F1 or F2 or even F3 or third generation males away from the serval have ever produced viable young. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying there isn't some live sperm, but for the most part, no. So what we have to do is breed down 5 generations away from that serval. The first generation, you're down to half wild. Second generation, 25%. Third, 12.5%, 6%, and so on. We're down to 2% or less of actual wild blood before we're finding fertility. That's by that point, you've lost pretty much everything that was wild about that cat. So it's a very challenging situation. And on top of that, if we have an F1 female, half serval, half domestic, the chances that she will reproduce with a domestic male or a serval male is maybe 50%. Generally speaking, they're not the best mothers. I guess what I'm getting at is there's a lot of issues that you have to overcome to get to where we are now, or to where the breed is now. It's a challenge at every level.
Okay, so an F1, what is the approximate size and weight of an F1 Savannah cat?
We're looking at there's a lot of variation there, but I would say they look much larger than they will weigh on the scale. So I'm going to say 20 to 30 pounds is going to catch most of the F1 males. The males are significantly heavier and larger than the females. If you were to look at one, their back's going to hit you about knee high. So they're going to look they're very long, very tall, very lanky, relatively skinny. So they do not weigh as much. Ironically, some of the males in the second generation, not all, but we hit this certain genetic line on occasion. And I'm sure it's because we're screwing with Mother Nature, something terrible, that we'll get these anomalies. And we'll get an F2 kitten, a 25% to 30% wild kitten that'll get up to that 40 pounds or heavier, which is a monster cat. The first ones that we actually produced, we were aware they were abnormally large very early on. And I was hesitant to sell those because their growth rate was so rapid. I assumed we'd have some of the same joint problems we see in Great Danes or some of the larger dogs. So I did
still sell those.
Yeah, they do. They do. I did not want to go down that path. So those basically went out to friends and family so we could track them to see if there were going to be any issues, and there were none. So
I'm not a friend and family member at this time.
You were not. You do not want a cat.
Huh? No, I do not. We do not need one other animal to feed around this place. No, we do not.
It's not something that
And I am never here anyway, so no. But now, if I was going to get one, I'd want the F1. I'd want the big wild thing.
Yes, one that looks just like a serval. And for those of you out there, while we're recording this, if you want to look at what a Savannah cat looks like, website savannahcatbreed.com. We'll pull that up for you so you can get some more information as we're discussing this. One thing I wanted to circle back on is when we made these decisions to breed a serval, Ryan, we didn't know. I was in graduate school, absolutely broke. Biden wasn't there to pay my student loan off. There was not a lot of extra cash to be conducting this experiment. So I want to give credit to Richard Cobb, the shepherd at the University of Illinois Sheep Farm. Guess what he graciously did for us?
I do not know.
He had a lot of barn cats running around there.
Mm-hmm.
Many barn cats. And as you know, barn cats are very fertile. So our philosophy was, let's go ahead and start with those, not knowing if it's going to work. Gather some barn cats. I think we gathered probably half a dozen or so. Quarantine them, vaccinate them, run blood work, get them to a health status like you would for a pig going into a SPF operation or highly biosecure operation. And then let's go ahead and raise these kittens with a serval, and hopefully everything works out. Interestingly enough, it was one of those barn cats that we brought from the University of Illinois Sheep Farm that gave us our first live baby. And she, in turn, gave us many more after that. And to this day, Richard Cobb continues to want that royalty that he was not promised, by the way.
That's
But
fun.
no, it's good. So it was an amazing start, and how that all happened while I was in graduate school. I did not have the facility, or I didn't think raising these in a college apartment is probably the best idea. So my parents actually house the serval and the domestic cats, and they are responsible for all of the production side of this for the first 5+ years, until I secured a job and was able to purchase a place where we could have a facility to house some of these cats and continue the business.
Is it also true that Holly only married you because she liked the kitty cats?
It is not. I don't know. That's why she's smart enough not to be on this podcast today.
I'm just joking again.
What is good is that when Holly came on board, and we got married, it was a decision that we had to make. Does she go out and pursue a career to generate dollars, or does she step up the cat breeding business and really make that go forward? It was evident there was a huge market for this, and it was hard to do on a part-time basis. My parents were doing most of the work. I was teaching and coaching, so there was very limited amount of time on my part that was available. And Holly decided, okay, let's pursue this. And it was a decision that was taken very seriously, because as our marriage progressed and we decided, okay, how do we want to raise our children? It was definitely always there that we want to grow them or raise them in the stock show lifestyle, whether it was just showing animals or raising and showing animals. But we recognized an opportunity through this exotic cat breeding business that we could generate a sizable amount of income, that if we were to focus on that for a few years, once our children became of 4-H age, we then could go out and purchase either the show animals, or it actually turned out the breeding stock at the very highest level. We could come in at any level we so chose. And I knew if we came in at a high enough level that we could propagate that and turn that into a business. We never once dreamed at that point. We assumed it was going to be cattle, maybe sheep, maybe hogs. I promise you that raising goats or purchasing a herd of goats at that point was not on the radar at all. But ironically, as time went on, and this is going to be a reoccurring theme, Holly and I saw the popularity of goats in Texas that the rest of the world hadn't recognized yet. And an opportunity presented itself. And we were in a situation financially, because of the cats, that we could act upon that. And after 2 years of making several trips each month to Texas to look at every goat we could possibly look at and try to decide what path to go down, we found some that we were very comfortable with. And once that breeder decided they were willing to sell, the rest was history in terms of Hummel Livestock and the goats and all those things. But what I want to emphasize is the only reason we were financially able to do that, or buy the ground we have, or build the home we have, or build any of our facilities, all of that revolves around the fact we made a decision to focus on raising exotic cats for several years, and we put everything we had into doing that, then allowed us to come back and follow our passion.
And that's
Doesn't
another
that
episode.
make you tear up?
Kind of, maybe not really. But I'm not a very emotional person. Okay, back to the kitty cats. I have more questions. Okay, so at the current facility, which again, people do not believe this. I am not allowed on the Hummel compound. They have like an armed guard.
That
They have an
is an
armed guard
incorrect
out there. If I ever try to, he's clearly been given orders to shoot me in the kneecap. So I cannot go there. The first time I get to go there is October 31st, and Dale is only using me to get FFA children to visit his facility, and so that's why I am allowed. But I've never been there.
Now that you opened that can, we haven't announced that you would be here. So we do open house tours every year for FFA chapters going to the national convention, which has been in Indianapolis or Louisville for quite some time now. But we do open that invitation up for chapters to come through, and we get a lot of chapters coming through. This year, I put it on social media, and it blew up that much further. Where I think on Halloween, the 31st, Ryan, you may not be aware of this. We have over 1,000 FFA members coming through, and
I'm going to need a lot of Sharpies.
Yes, now that you're going to be here, they're going to be the most excited.
I'm going to need a lot of Sharpies. But anyway, so I've never been, but I have seen pictures, and this facility is amazing. And I am nothing against the Billy Goats or the Vampire Voodoo Angus. I want to see it all while I'm there, but I really do want to see the cat facility because it's just something. I have been to a lot of goat operations. I have been to a lot of cattle operations, and I know that yours is way out there too, but I have never got to see this like kitty cat thing, so I'm kind of very interested in it. But how many, and I don't know, they're not donors because you don't flush them. How many female cats do you have producing kittens currently?
Okay, now that in a very good question. I'm always hesitant. No, it's not a trick question. I and it's especially with our audience. We have somewhere around 80 females and probably 30 males, which under the pet world, and I want to separate this a little bit. That would be pushing numbers that you would consider a factory dog farm or a factory cat farm, as if there is such a thing. And when we built this facility, that was in the back of my mind that we don't want to be labeled just a factory farm that's generating cats and harvesting dollars, but we want to do it extremely well. And with that in mind, building a $500,000 facility specifically designed to house and care for and provide for both not only the physical well-being of a cat, but also their mental well-being and stimulation. And if we can do all of that and do it really well, that in turn increases production, increases the number of animals born, increases our health status, and ultimately allows us to provide the more ideal pet for that buying public. But if you were to go out there and say, okay, they have this many cats and they're producing this many kittens, and it's no secret, you can look at our website and we have kittens available pretty much year round. So it doesn't take a lot of math to understand that we do have a lot of females that we're caring for. But if you had a chance to visit the facility and meet some of our staff, you would understand that we, it goes back to, I remember a quote in Jurassic Park, that we've spared no expense to make sure that these are housed.
That's why I want to see it, because I've seen the pictures and you haven't spared any.
Yes. So, I mean, from using stainless steel to making sure that we can disinfect everything, to separate air handling systems from the birthing room to the nursery to the office common area to the breeding portion. It was set up more. There is no exotic animal blueprint or exotic feline breeding operation blueprint. So we modeled it off of a hog building, and then made it just a little bit fancier. And we put a home simulation area within this facility, kind of the office area that cats can be socialized. So it's not. Yeah. So everything possible is being done, including at one point right now, it's not full-time, but we even had a full-time person just socializing cats, which amounts to playing with kittens all day long to make sure that they're going to go out and adapt to that.
If you pay really well, I'll do that.
Your number in your mind on paying really well and your lifestyle, you better just hope
I would play with the kitty cats all day, probably for free. But anyway, I think they're cool. And so you talked about And like, again, because I'm weird about this stuff, I've watched all the videos and all this other stuff. But so like you go 5 generations deep. That's what you have right now, is right. F5 is the farthest away from a serval that you have
That
on
is
property.
correct.
Okay. So my question is to you, do you have, or do you currently have a purebred serval on the property?
Yes, we have, and
What is his
and
name?
Thor would be one of them. We have several.
Oh, you have several?
We have several.
Oh,
Thor
I'm
is the
going to
one
play
that
with him the most.
Thor is the one I would like to introduce you to.
I'm going to play with him the most. Those are
He
ones
is
I
the
wanna play with.
oldest, he is the largest, and he is cranky.
Oh, good.
Most likely to bite you of
Oh,
all of them
good.
that we have.
Wonderful.
But no, we do have servals on premise that we're constantly exposing to domestics and hoping to get more of the F1s. In all reality, if I were to allot how much space it takes to have the servals and put domestic or Savannah females at this point in with them, it's not the largest return on space.
Yeah,
However,
not economical.
we have to continue to go back to produce those F1s to keep our females in I guess continue to produce the second and third gen. We have to continue going back to serval. I could go out and purchase F1 females from other breeders at this point, and
That's no fun.
no, we'll go back to that. But we have taken an approach in our breeding program. So since 1994, the only new genetics that we have really brought in after we put together what's called a base of females that we wanted to breed to the serval, and this is going to apply to the livestock world as well. There's so many things, and I haven't done very well making this point yet, Ryan, that the
Because I
background.
have questions.
Yes, and yet the questions are interfering with the education sometimes. Holly and I's background in showing livestock or raising livestock, everything that we succeeded with on producing the exotic felines goes back to that. So when we first decided to take those barn cats from the University of Illinois Sheep Farm and breed them to a serval, we did get some foundation stock that we continued to breed from. However, we had the foresight, let's go ahead and make that ideal female to breed to a serval. And no other breeders out there did this at all. They didn't put any thought into it. They simply bred kind of like we did. The reason for the barn cat was fertility. It was, and they were free,
Yep.
obviously. So what we did is we took, and most people won't know these breeds, but we took an Egyptian Mau, a Bengal, and an Aussie cat, or those 3 cat breeds. We bred those together to create something that looked as much like a serval as we could get.
I was saying, say you did that because you wanted it to look as much like
Yes.
so yeah.
So out of interest, the F1 cats, it doesn't matter if you breed a serval to a barn cat, another Savannah, it doesn't matter what you breed it to. Those genes are so dominant, the F1s will all come out looking very similar to a serval every single time. Doesn't matter what color cat you breed it to, nothing. However, once you breed that female, another generation or 2 generations, guess what starts happening? You revert back and start to see all of the lack thereof serval markings that was in that original cat. So if we start out with an animal that looks as close to the serval that we could make by breeding domestics together, when it reverts back, we really aren't losing a lot, or we're not going backwards as much. And we were able to select for size, temperament, all those other things in creating this ideal female base. By creating that ideal female base, our genetics have bred so much truer. We're able to go down to that 5th generation that, again, I reminded you, we're somewhere in that 2% wild, and it still looks or has some resemblance of a serval cat. And it all goes back to just implementing livestock breeding procedures into the cats and creating that foundation. Now, did this take us several more years and slow us down? Yes, it did. But I think it also attributes to the long-term success, because at some point, others were going to be imitating this and doing the exact same thing. You just hope that they don't do it as well. Now we're almost 30 years into this, and there is no one out there yet that is doing it as well. And we're still able to sell our kittens for as much or more than any other breeder. I still believe we're putting out the healthiest product. I still believe that we have some of the most social animals going out. All of those things still come into play, and we can get into some of the reasons for that as you ask the questions.
Okay, so my next question is, because I'm assuming that you sell all levels, F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, correct?
Correct.
Which one is the most sought after?
I think the most intriguing and what people believe they want would be an F1, just like yourself.
Yeah, that's what I want too.
They look like a wild cat. They do all of those things. And again, when I say this, there are always exceptions to the rule. For the most part, they're never going to be aggressive. They're never going to harm a child or anything like that. However, just like the serval itself, and some people will try to have those as pets, and generally speaking, it doesn't work out at all, not from an aggression standpoint, but peeing in your house and just many, many issues. You find some of those same issues in the F1. You get a very large, wild looking, cool cat that will bond to one person like a dog or better. However, when other family members are around or company comes over, they're not very interactive with them. They'll take themselves out of that situation. A little bit like myself, I'm a little bit shy, a little bit socially awkward, Ryan. I try to avoid people to a certain degree, not because I want to, but it's just in my DNA that I'm not a overly social person. Those cats are not either, and they will usually avoid other people. When that primary caretaker or whoever they've bonded to is gone for any length of time, that cat goes through quite a bit of stress, sometimes acting out, chewing up the couch. I mean, whatever it may be. So, and there are some that are perfect. You can treat them just like a regular domestic cat and it's good. However, there are going to be more issues with the F1 Savannah working well in a variety of pet homes than they will be the F2s or F3s. So with all that said, they're probably the most sought after. They're the most expensive because they're the hardest to make. There's not as many of them out there, all of those things. But the ones that best suit most families would probably be the third generation. And the reason for that is we still get some of the wild look. We still get some of the size, but extremely personal or personable. No issues with eating dry food, water, litter box. You can manage them just like you can a normal domestic cat, yet you still get some of the bonuses that people are looking for.
Oh, that's very interesting. I would want the F1.
Yes, that would fit your personality so well.
Yeah. And then again, and like you want this to be educational. I just find it interesting. But I want to know, when Justin Bieber bought the kitty cats from you, did you have any personal communication with him?
That is not educational.
I know, but it's interesting.
Okay. We have sold to a lot of celebrities.
Not as big as Justin Bieber, though. He's the biggest.
I know of him very well now. I would have recognized the name prior to, but I am very limited in my knowledge of who's popular and who's not.
Let me clarify this. This is the biggest person Dale has told me he sold to. He may have sold to somebody bigger. He just don't want me to know. But anyway, so did he come to
Trump
the place?
Would be a good one. Okay, back to the Justin Bieber story. I couldn't even tell you how many years ago this was, but again, we have positioned ourselves to have what I consider to be the most professional website. I think there's no question we're providing the best customer service in this area by far. We're doing everything very well, and when people do their research, that is usually brought to light. So it is my impression that somebody like Justin Bieber saw the cat. They've been on television. They've been on a lot of things. And I want to hit on that at some point as well, just how they became so popular so fast. But I'm going to stay on topic. So somehow Justin Bieber found out about a Savannah cat. I'm assuming he took his personal assistant and said, go find me the best Savannah cat you can find, or something to that nature. With that, Holly gets a call from his personal assistant, does not disclose that this person is buying for Justin Bieber or anything like that. Just goes through the normal process, looking at the very high end kittens only. And when that happens, a lot of times you are under the assumption exactly what it is. It's a personal assistant buying for a celebrity, and it has happened numerous times. And I do not deal with it. That is all my wife Holly. The personal assistant, he or she, and I never visited with him. Holly did. Once we get to the final contract, they had asked if we would sign a non-disclosure agreement, I guess is the best term that I have for it. And they revealed that this cat was actually for Justin Bieber. And we agreed to sign the paperwork stating that we could not take advantage of selling to Justin Bieber using his name to publicize our cats. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that just went out of the water.
And I don't remember, but there was a huge number stacked to that. If we broke that agreement, it was a severe financial penalty. Severe, very severe. Like bad.
What
Something
the hell
you
do
couldn't
you
do.
think you're doing right now?
Okay, now I can tell the rest of the story. So I don't know. 6 months after he buys a cat, he has an Instagram page just for this cat, and he
There was
actually
two
bought
of
it.
them, I thought.
Yes, he bought a second one a month or so after the first one.
And they're made
So he
something
had-
stupid like sushi and ahi or something. I don't remember.
Yes, how do you know those things?
Because
I didn't even remember what their names were.
Sushi and ahi, I think, is what it was.
Okay, so he's got I don't know how him on his social media following himself is in the millions. I don't know what it is, but these cats got in excess of 1 million followers almost instantaneously. And obviously Savannah cats were becoming popular. They didn't know for sure where he got them, but it elevated the awareness of Savannah cats dramatically, and everybody was searching for them. Somehow a tabloid, I don't even remember which one, got a hold of the fact that Justin Bieber bought Savannah cats. They did their research, and there was a good investigative reporter there. They were able to look at his Instagram or maybe some of the pictures he had posted that originally came from our website. So they searched all the Savannah cat websites until they figured out where those cats came from. They found our website, they found our pricing structure, and all of a sudden they've discovered that Justin Bieber spent an obscene amount of money on 2 cats. And they were very angry.
He has an obscene amount of money to spend.
Yes, I'm with you completely. They were PETA-like in nature, very animal rights based is maybe the polite way to say it. They were very angry that he would spend that much money on cats versus going to the shelter and adopting cats that don't have a home. So as soon as this story breaks, his personal assistant contacts us, says, hey, this is what's going on, such and such. You're probably going to get calls or whatever. So we're prepared for it. We get some hate email over it. The personal assistant calls back in a couple of days, states that, hey, Justin's not going to cave to these people at all. He comes out with a statement that basically what you said, Ryan, that he has the means to afford whatever animal he wants to purchase. And if there is a certain breed that he thinks fits his personality well, he is going to go out and purchase such. That is not saying that he wouldn't adopt from an animal shelter in the future, but right now, this is what he chose to do, and this is what he's doing. And that is highly unusual because we have other celebrities that have purchased nothing to this level that blew up. But most of the time when Hollywood is pushed on something like that, they're going to cave to the other side. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
He came out strong on social media, I believe, and just in general that, hey, this is his decision. He has a right to do this. These cats were raised humanely and well taken care of. That it's his choice. And I didn't know how the animal rights groups were going to react to this because most of them would keep pushing it. But because he has such a strong fan base, they just let it go completely. They dropped it. You never heard another word of it. It was gone. So that was wonderful that he stood up and said, hey, I can do what I want to do. There was another celebrity that you would find interest in, Ryan, that I wanted to bring up. I thought this was the perfect cat buyer. Perfect. You might be you're not too young. I'm going to pretend you're too young to make you feel good. Do you remember the Girls Gone Wild videos,
Yeah.
DVDs, whatever those were?
Yeah.
Joe Francis was the owner of that. I believe
Okay.
Joe may have went to jail for something, maybe for not getting permission to film some of those girls on the beach. I don't know, but he was in jail for a certain amount of time. Prior to going to jail, again, his personal assistant, at least on the first purchase, called my wife, sold a cat, never did disclose actually that it was for this Girls Gone Wild, Joe Francis. We get a call from Joe Francis.
See, I didn't know who this guy is, but he is ugly.
Okay.
I just
Anyway,
looked him up.
that is irrelevant. Anyway, so the first cat, he sends it to his house in Mexico. He hires a person full time just to take care of this cat, take it out on walks, basically live with his cat. A couple months into it, that person and his cat are gone. They jump ship, gone. Takes a cat, steals a cat. He calls back wanting another one. My wife does not do the research, does not recognize his name, sells him another one. Something happened to that cat and wherever he was living, gone. He calls a third time, and my wife is starting to think, well, this is odd. Maybe we shouldn't be selling this man cats. Does a little research, figures out who he is, and it took everything I had to convince her to sell him another cat. Again, I was okay with this.
I think Holly was right because tax evasion, bribery, false imprisonment, assault causing great bodily injury, dissuading a witness, and record-keeping violations.
He paid for the cats.
Well, okay.
He paid his check. His check was good. So anyway, he can, and I think that we did sell him a third one, and I don't know if something happened to that, but there was a time when he tried to purchase another one, and I didn't even try. I left it alone. Holly did not allow that to happen. So it was interesting. And another story, while we have my wife is the one, and she should be doing this interview, but she's smarter than that. So we have an office, Ryan, that you have not been here, but we have our desk in the same office. She will be sitting at the desk and take a call, and I'm over working on a goat something. And I hear that, well, for an example, she may have a kitten on the website priced at $15,000. And I can hear just enough of the conversation to know that's the kitten they're interested in. That's the kitten they're trying to buy. They offer her $14,500 for the kitten instead of $15,000. What does she do, Ryan?
She says, no, thank you. I appreciate it. Bye.
Why?
Because she's a smart woman.
She does. She does not budge. And by the end of the conversation,
it's the same reason you put all the goats online for sale, because you don't want to deal with that. You don't. You would. This is why you have online sales. You would cave. That's why you have online sales.
Yes, I am not. I mean, they could. Yes, to me, that's a very fair offer. It's very fair. But she'll
get the $500.
She does every single time. She just doesn't.
It may not be that person, but somebody else will buy the damn kitty cat. You just wait and see.
And I'm going to say 90% of the time, even if they don't purchase on that call, they will call back shortly and
buy a different one.
I don't understand it how that works, but I'm thankful she's in charge of it, because I'm very weak on that side. Very.
You have people ask me all the time, why does Dale have online sales? I said, because he does not want to deal with. I said, it's not that you don't want to deal with people per se, but you do not want to deal with the haggling and the, I want $5,000 for this. Well, I only have $4,000, and can we meet it for you? Don't you would be
because I would give every single time.
I know, and then you would be much crankier than what you already are. So it would be terrible. Terrible.
And then we're getting off topic here, but how do you decide who gets first pick if you're selling them privately? You're going to make people unhappy.
Well, that's going to be on the next episode, because
yes.
But I mean, we are getting long on the pussycat part. So is there anything else that you would like to add? I mean, again, I have found this fascinating. Dale doesn't like talking about it with me because I don't know, he's weird about it. He doesn't like talking about the little kitty cat operation. So I have learned a lot today, more than I ever have, but I have done my own research privately about it all. But in terms of anything else you would like the listeners to know about the operation, and also if Thor bites me, I'm going to sue you. But I mean, I just
great. Well, fortunately, you're going to get to see things here in a couple weeks. The only thing I would like to do, and I am this whole thing intrigues me, and I wouldn't have gone down this path if I didn't have some passion for the genetic side of it, or to see if this could actually be done. And there's a couple small things that I want to put in there. And again, I'm always going back to my educational side. Once we created a kitten, there was another breeder in Oklahoma that had done the same thing, and we were unaware that either one of us was working on this project. Once we became aware of such, we collaborated in a manner that we did not sell any breeding animals for nearly 10 years. Maybe it wasn't quite that long, but close, under the pretense that we would be able to determine the direction the breed takes in terms of what we want them to look like. All of those things we could set on a course before anybody else would have the chance to derail that. There were others that knew we were doing it that tried to imitate. Most of them did not have success, but that was a critical step in the whole process to establish ourselves way ahead of the game, that we weren't going to sell those females to hand over to bypass all the difficulties we had in making them. If somebody wanted to imitate it, they would have to do it themselves. Carol Baskin, our good friend that we bought the serval from, I believe she was very much on board selling servals to a lot of people that wanted to imitate this. And then she comes out a year or so later saying this is the worst thing you could ever do, is take a wildcat. And
that's because she's a lying, hypocritical.
Yes, she is exactly that. But I want to reiterate that my background in livestock and Holly's background in livestock and some of our philosophies that we've had success in our other businesses, and we're going to do a goats and Angus cattle podcast in the near future. But there is one common tie, and that is we take a very non-traditional approach. Some people would say it's outside the box. It's not normal. Ryan, when I told a few of my friends that I was going to try to breed cats and market and sell cats and generate income from it, these would be livestock people. What do you think their response was?
I'm sure they laughed at you.
Yeah, I mean, in their mind,
that would probably been the nice response.
Yes, that was way beneath what they wanted to do. They would rather breed cattle or hogs or sheep, and I respect that. But they refused, and I do not remember a single one that was on board and said, "Hey, that's a good idea. Jump after that and go hard." But when you see an opportunity, and to me, it was my brain maybe functions differently, but it was so clear to me that there was a huge demand for something like this. It would be crazy not to act upon it and allow that to foster our other livestock businesses. And it has been able to do just that. We often talk about leave no room for error. By collaborating with that breeder for 10 years before we gave it out to everybody in the world, that is part of it. We're in the situation when we were first starting breeding these cats, and we were getting to the numbers where we've implemented a marketing program that we came up with. What's interesting, and you'll see this in livestock as well, and I wanted to bring it back to the livestock just a little bit. There are a lot of people raising cats that do a decent job breeding them and keeping them healthy and maybe even social. There are a lot of people out there that have bought into the Savannah cat business that have incredible marketing abilities, but absolutely zero animal sense or background in animal production. What there are very few of, and what set us apart and allowed us to be so successful in raising these exotic felines we call Savannahs, is the fact that our animal background, animal production knowledge, combined with an ability to understand business and market animals, has set us so far apart from the rest that it almost put us so far ahead the others couldn't come close to catching up. And we've been able to live off of that for 30 some years. This is an exotic animal. And I used to teach a section in my exotic animal portion of Animal Science 100 when I was a college teacher or instructor about exotic animals. They're novelty because there's so few ostriches or whatever here. They're going to get really expensive and then they're going to fall real hard. I thought about that with the Savannah cat, and they did get expensive very quickly. The difference is they've never fallen, and they've never fallen because in an exotic animal, such as an ostrich or some of the other animals that have a potbelly pig, whatever you want to look at. There are very, very few people that truly have the ability or facilities or desire to own a pig in their house or build a pen for an ostrich or whatever that is. So your market is extremely limited. I, I cannot explain to you how many pets there are in the world, and the pet market is literally endless. So there was never that drop in prices. Every single year, we started off selling our first Savannah kitten, an F1, which is very valuable at this point, for $2,500. And I thought that was insane crazy that somebody would spend that much money for one of those cats. It's evolved now that when my wife sells a cat in excess of $15,000, she may not even mention it to me. She's become numb to the fact that there are so many people out there literally searching for another family member. I know it sounds crazy to some of us in the livestock world, but that's what they look at it as. And they're willing to invest their disposable income at a significant level to get exactly what they want. So it's gone from $2,500 to selling them for in excess of $20,000 now, because people are looking for the absolute best. And if we do things like build this feline facility and leave no room for error, that we're going to accommodate not only their physical needs, but their mental well-being, hire a staff that's going to take the best care of everything and do everything as best we can when somebody comes to our place. And very few actually show up to look at the kittens. Most of them are sold online. But when they come to our place and they see the facility, they're pretty taken back that, wow, they're doing a very professional job and these cats are well taken care of, unlike the typical image of a factory puppy mill or something like that. So there's a lot of things that come into play here, but I can't explain enough that it's our production animal background with an ability to market well that has allowed us success in that. And then you follow it up, which nobody in the cat world does, with customer service. If somebody calls with a problem that their cat has an issue and you answer the phone at 2 a.m. to try to help them, those things are appreciated. And one of the things that Holly and I or our family has benefited from, or Hummel Livestock family, whether it's goats or cattle, we've taken some of these principles that have worked so well for us in the cat world, particularly customer service, and applied that in especially into our goat business, that level of customer service, that there's people out there that are drastically wanting to learn and wanting to provide the best opportunity for their kids, period. And if they can connect with us, and we send out protocols, we answer the phone, we do FaceTime to help with showmanship, we try to set the best example of who we have out there representing ourselves at shows, that's what really has allowed our business to succeed. Obviously, you need to win and do everything that comes with it, but to go that notch further and provide that level of customer service that many parents are seeking in the stock show world. And for some reason, and that's part of the success of this podcast, there's just not that many ways to access information on how to win Houston or how to win your state fair. I mean, there's a lot of things out there and it's getting better, but there's very little, there's a limited amount of access. The people that are trying to go from the county fair level to the state fair or national level, there's a lot of hurdles in place. And if you can help facilitate and guide them through some of that through customer service, it makes a huge, huge difference. So there's all kinds of things that, and Ryan, I'm going to admit this. I was very uncomfortable talking about our personal businesses or my personal life in any manner.
You didn't say a damn word about your personal life.
A little. I've opened up a little, but it was okay.
God.
I'm trying to give you a compliment.
Oh my God.
By doing this podcast with you for many, many years or episodes or 4 million downloads later, I'm getting better. I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. It was like y'all just don't understand. This morning he was freaking out. But
I don't like. We've put this off for a little while. This was going to be done a while ago,
and he did not get into anything personal either. But it's fine. I thought it was great. I have been very again, and I know pretty much everything that was talked about on here. I learned a few little insights, but anyway. But again, I have had lots of people from the very beginning, because and Dale's not comfortable, whatever. I've bared my soul on here many times, and
Oh my, you have, maybe that's why you bear it so deeply. I get nervous.
I mean, again, and so it is just what it is, and I'm an open book. But nobody was like, "Oh, we want Dale to open up and be personal." No, they wanted to know about lots of different things. They want to know how he got in the goat business. They want to know how he got involved in Argentine Angus stuff, and which I called the vampire Angus because they don't show up in photos to me. But anyway, we'll get into that the next episode, and it may not be next week, but we will finish with goats and the deal. But the cat thing's been very, very interesting. And again, one of the things that I have always so immensely respected about Dale is while we may be completely opposite on so many things, his outside the box approach to business, I can identify and relate with greatly, because if y'all haven't figured out I'm pretty outside the box, then you probably haven't noticed me very much or whatever. But and so I have, and in everything, and the other thing that I would like to say about Dale is it has all worked and it has all been successful. I mean, it may not have been successful from the very start, but he has made all of these things work and be a success. And there's not many people that can say that. So I thought it was fun to share a little bit. We'll share a little more, but good job, Dale.
Thank you, Ryan. I greatly appreciate the kind words. And there have been outside the box thoughts that crashed. Maybe we'll do an episode on that someday.
Okay.
Until next week.
What you're forgetting question and answer.
I did. Totally. See, you got me all shook up here.
I know.
I've got to dig this up.
Yeah. So we want to thank Basic Animal Health and Leonard Truck and Trailer for sponsoring the question and answer section. If you will go to www.basicanimalhealth.com and you purchase any of their products, and currently they have Get Health, Show Focus, and Trailer Ride. And if you use the code BTRJLA at checkout, then we get a portion of the profits from that sale to help pay for the BTRJLA award. So thank you, Basic Animal Health, Leonard Truck and Trailers, and the Clint Leonard family. Now,
there's only one reason you reminded me of question and answer, because you wanted to talk about Clint. Otherwise, you'd have let it go.
No, I appreciate the Leonards very, very much for what they do for our organization. So,
and that is worthy of doing a question and answer today. Okay, I did pull 3 questions up.
I was like, you actually got on this earlier this morning. So
yes, I did. I have them in front of me. The first one comes from Jerry. I think we've answered this before, but we continue to get it. So maybe Jerry did not hear it. So you're going to go through it again. Not exactly this wording, but how can I get both of you at our jackpot show to sort all 4 species together? That doesn't mean ring A and B, Ryan.
No, that means I have to deal with you in every class.
Yes. Remember how we do that though? We alternate because but it's impossible to not.
No, yeah, we have to alternate, and then I'm like, okay, fine, you, whatever. This is your stuff. It's whatever, yeah. And again, I'm not against this. I have lived through the process before. I can live through it again. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's a little stressful, but it is
usually entertaining for the audience.
It is very entertaining. I promise you. The biggest problem is Dale does not get off the reservation very much, or the compound, because he does have 3 thriving businesses that require a lot of his time, and he still has a child in high school that is active in things that we don't want to talk about, like sports, I don't know why. But so he does not leave. And then again, the thing for me is I get judging jobs every single request every single day. And I have shared this before. I'll share this again. I try desperately hard not to book more than a year in advance. And I think even booking a year in advance is somewhat insane. But I have been able to keep those commitments as long as for 98% of them, if I don't go farther out than a year in advance. So you would have to get on it early and plan accordingly, and then hope that Dale, if I was available, that Dale would leave the compound to go judge the show. It's a very difficult scenario.
The problem is when you go that far in advance, I am not organized enough to know what I'm doing at that point. And because within the businesses, whether it's cats or cattle or goats, there's always a changing schedule and an emergency that comes up that I am hesitant to book very far in advance. So it is a battle. I'm going to tell you, Ryan, that the few times that we have judged either back to back or together or whatever it may be, those have been some of my favorite shows to do. I
They are
enjoy
mine
doing it.
too. I just don't like telling you that.
I love the entertainment value, and it's part of, we stand out in the ring when we're doing it by ourselves and lots of different things. I have always got something going through my head, but when you're out there and just being able, it's enjoyable. I don't know how else to put it. Even when we do not agree, it's enjoyable for those out there. It's not only a show, but it's an entertainment portion of the show.
Yes, it is.
So I do like those. So I will make a conscious effort to do better, Jerry. So please feel free to reach out and maybe that can work. But thank you for the question. Excellent answer. The next one comes from Joe. This one falls right into this, Ryan, and I don't know the answer to this. Ryan, how many shows do you judge a year?
And I get this question asked more than anybody else, and I do not count. Number one, I think that would be ostentatious and gross to count. And I just do, because again, I am very humbled by the number of people that ask me to judge shows. And I take every show, whether it is county fair, jackpot, state fair, whatever, very, very seriously. And so I would think to put a number on it would just be bragging and, again, just gross. I don't count. I can tell you that every weekend of 2023, except for 3, I was booked at a show, and 2 of the one, and I took those weekends off. One for my birthday, one for a wedding, and one for Callie's birthday. And so those, but I do just as much, like from May to October, I do as much stuff in the middle of the week as I do, or more than weekends. So it's a lot, but I'm never going to count. I just want to do that.
It's safe to say that you're on the road all summer.
Yes.
Period. Now, do I think that you stay longer than you should and you should take some midnight flights? Yes, but
there you go. Right.
That doesn't fit into your protocol as well.
No.
Samantha has the final question. Dale and Ryan. She meant to say Ryan, just Ryan.
Uh-huh.
Please give me your thoughts on the best show species for my 8-year-old daughter to get started. That is a pretty open question.
I think it depends on your kid. And I think that you should ask your kid. Because again, I know 8-year-old children that show 1,400 pound steers and do it as well as 18-year-olds. And look, you can put them on a sheep or goat and it's an absolute disaster. I mean, that's just how it is. And then again, you would think that the logic would be that an 8-year-old is small, so a smaller animal would fit better, and a lot of times it does, but a lot of times it doesn't, because there are challenges to showing all of them. And it has been my experience that whatever type of animal that child is the most interested in showing, then they're going to rise to those challenges. If you put it on a sheep, a Southdown sheep, because that's the smallest animal and you think your kid's 8, and the child doesn't want to show a sheep, it's not going to work. So I think there are challenges to all of it. Obviously, the rewards outweigh the challenges. I would just ask my kid and be like, what do you really want to show? And I know an 8-year-old may not be sure, but trial and error, you've got to start with something that they're interested in, because if you just say, you know what, you're going to show a pig because whatever, and they don't want to show a pig, it's not going to be great. So I think it is definitely, there's no answer to that other than that child will be able to tell you or show you, in my opinion.
That is a great answer. And obviously take into consideration what you have available for facilities and things like that. But that is good. Very, very good. Now that we've gotten through question and answer, and I'm still flustered just a little bit. I think there was one other time that I tried to skip question and answer. I don't remember what episode that was.
Yeah, there was, and I had to correct you then too.
Well, I have a good excuse this time. This one was a long time coming because of my apprehension of talking about those things, but I appreciate you giving it a little bit of a push, and those listeners out there that expressed an interest. I hope it was good, or at least entertaining. And until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?